AskReddit by deleted. What harmful things are being taught to children? Going too far on the find your dream job and it'll never feel like work stuff. Really messed me up when I wasn't excited about uni assignments and thought I had to change degrees. Teaching kids not to question things just because someone is older, or allegedly wiser, is one of the most frustrating things that I see on a daily basis. How is a child supposed to ever develop any individual and nuanced ideas if they can't think for themselves? Being wrong is bad. That's why many people don't change their mind when they were given trustable sources. They don't want to be wrong. If you want to always be right, change your mind. CGP Grey. Edit. Spelling. Being discouraged to speak up about illnesses because it makes them weird something's wrong with them. They talk about like, you need therapy, which isn't a bad concept and you probably do need it, but they picture it in such a bad light. I remember in middle school my parents and I went to family therapy because they found out I was self-harming. They didn't seem to care why I was doing it, more concerned that it would make them look like bad parents. I only went twice because both times my dad would constantly interrupt me and that would cause a huge argument, and the therapist basically told us to leave after the second time because my dad wouldn't stfoo. If he's mean to you he likes you. It just teaches little girls, mostly girls, to expect violence from people who love them. My mom told me that when a boy in kindergarten would bully me, I wasn't his only target. He did this to everyone else in the class at least once during the school year. I never understood it and never tried to. Later on, my dad stepped in to tell me what the boy did was wrong and his behavior was not a sign of him liking me. No is a bad word. It's a strong word but not a bad one. I could never tell an adult no growing up because it was a rude word. Nobody cares about children's teens issues. Well, it's only going to get worse from here. You think school is hard? Have you ever paid a fucking bill? You're just a kid, you can't feel this way. It breeds an emotional disconnect from parents and their kids. And makes kids feel alone in their emotional struggles, that nobody cares because they're not adults and they don't have adult problems. Listen earnestly to anything your children want to tell you, no matter what. If you don't listen eagerly to the little stuff when they are little, they won't tell you the big stuff when they are big, because to them all of it has always been big stuff. Catherine Wallace. There was this one time my sister's Spanish teacher told her off for using vocabulary outside the sheet she'd been given for homework. Their task was to write a short essay introducing themselves in Spanish and use some simple adjectives. She asked me for help, and since I'm quite a bit older than her and know a decent amount of Spanish, I have her a few interesting adjectives and verbs to use instead of dumb stuff like nice and kind or whatever. She comes back after school close to tears and tells me she got scolded for using vocab that wasn't on the sheet. SMH teachers are supposed to encourage learning, not hinder it, right? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up mayo. Just to clarify, I wasn't helping my sister cheat. Basically all those shit social media influencers that teach young people that it's all about money and brand names. Probably not harmful, but in kindergarten we were prohibited from playing soccer because it was too dangerous. We were kindergartners. We probably would stand there and kick the ball, not go full on FIFA or shit. Edit. What the fuck? Thanks for the upvotes, guys. You Dark Alex grew up to be Sergio Ramos. Kids are starting social media so early these days, and I think that's very dangerous because it puts a lot of pressure on the kid to attribute their worth to their social media success. I also think parents are way too open with their social media when it comes to their kids, and it's totally a violation of the child's privacy, of which some parents will never admit. The amount of parents I see on social media just sharing everything that happens in their child's life is astounding. Maybe Bobby doesn't want everyone to know that tried out for the school play but he didn't make it. That may not be a big deal to you, but Bobby might be really upset right now, and having everyone his mom knows giving opinions on the subject probably won't help. Teaching them that it's not okay to fail. Some people need a little more time than others. It's okay to not get something now. Kids should be given more time to process things. Imagine having a poor grade because of a low score from the beginning of the year. How can we show children that it's not pass or fail, it's try and improve? And if kids go into software development, or many other fields, to be honest, they are going to struggle with the agile methodology of fail often, fail fast, fail better. They can become perfectionists, which runs very counter to a fast changing, quick delivering culture. Perfection is the enemy of done. Deleted. I watched a sad video of a child from a third world country getting his foot scraped for chiggers. The man holding the camera, who I assume was the boy's father, kept saying to him it's wrong for a man to cry. Silent tears. It also might have been to keep the kid from screaming in the doctor's ear, but still, he was like 8. I think what we're not taught is more harmful. For example, the fact that we never learn, at least in my country, how to fact check things. That failure is bad. Failing should not be considered as an obstacle but a step in the learning process. Demonizing the failure and stigma associated with it makes many children lose their interest once they fail. This, but also the humiliation that comes with failing. If failure is to be considered a learning process, then people need to be taught not to laugh at the people who have failed. No backtalk. Many adults use it as you're not allowed to challenge what I have to say. Makes sense if it's a cranky toddler being negative for negativity's sake, but suddenly older children can't question things or raise valid points of their own. Grew up with a parent who was a lawyer. I was always allowed to argue my point. There were many times where she still won because she was the parent in the situation. But she would always justify why, and I could always make my case. And sometimes I won too. My husband was raised to react when mom and dad say jump, you say how high. His parents still say jump and are now pissed that my husband is a grown ass man and has his own family and ideas and needs, and they can't reconcile it. That complaining is the same as not being grateful. Can't count the number of times growing up when adults basically told me to shut up whenever I was complaining about something and that I should be grateful that I was born where I was. Like, sure, I'm glad I wasn't born into some starving African family, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect over here and that we shouldn't try to improve things here as well. I agree. That mindset causes people to become complacent and apathetic with life, so they never strive for improvement. Deleted. That always bothered me. Someone would be bullying me physically over and over, and when I finally fought back I was the bad guy. You can't just leave the situation when the bully follows you, and you do have to stick up for yourself. For those asking, it pretty well said zero tolerance policies. If you react, you're as bad as the aggressor. That's pretty much the meaning of it, but not verbatim. You do not have to play with everyone. There is a total lack of social accountability. If Laura is always cheating at tag, it's okay to not let her play. If little Billy throws sand in the sandbox, little Timmy does not have to play with him. Laura and Billy need to learn how to play appropriately. My son's preschool has a strict you do not have to play if you don't want to policy. No one has to play with anyone they don't want to play with. No one has to hug or touch anyone or be touched if they don't want it. No one has to share their toys or other school supplies if they aren't done with it. In fact, the preschool teacher will go over and referee and say, is Bobby done with the toy car? No? Then Mikey, you have to wait until he is done. It's pretty refreshing. I wanted to let you know there are new philosophies, and my son's preschool really strongly teaches body autonomy. Your body is your own and no one can touch it or make you do anything with it without your permission. How to internalize stress and implode as teens and adults. Truth story, my parents used to make fun of me when I cried. They even created a mock song to sing whenever I started crying. So guess what, I stopped crying. 27 years later, I can't cry at all and I can't tell others about my stress levels without getting upset. BTW, my parents are really nice people, but I was their first child in the early 90s, so they didn't really know how to deal with a crying child. That they shouldn't question an adult. So true. Because of that logic, many kids think that every adult is responsible and trustworthy when in reality it's clearly not the case. Making children hug or kiss someone, usually a relative, that they are uncomfortable with is not good. The child may just be grumpy and or not wanting to show affection, or their warning bell sensors could be going off and they do not know how to communicate that. Plus, forcing them to hug kiss sends mixed messages about personal physical boundaries and affection itself. This I've always disliked too much physical contact, and people would always act like it was blasphemy that I didn't want to give them a hug. Happened to my son in middle school. A kid sucker punched my son. My son then fought back and pinned the kid against the wall. He has long arms, and punched him a few times. The school called me and my wife and told us our son was suspended. We went to the school and they said even though multiple witnesses as well as the kid said he threw the first punch, that the school had a zero tolerance policy, so our son would be suspended. We asked what the school believed our son should have done and they said he should just walk away. We told them that he would not be receiving any punishment at home and that the policy was fucked up. That's for their insurance policies. They don't give a damn what happens to the kids in that scenario as long as they don't get sued. She's younger than you. Just let it go. Can't you be more compassionate? You're the older one here in this situation. She's a little child. She doesn't know any better. Absolutely hate this information that was drilled into me since I was a kid. Edit. I think children under the age of 3 are an exception to this though. I was referring to the 5-12-year-olds who could get away with stuff because they were younger. I don't give a fuck that she's 6 and I'm 6.5. She pissed in my fucking Lego bin. Edit. For clarity, the kid who pissed in my Legos was the kiddo of my stepmother's co-worker. In a nasty divorce, the parents may only talk about each other's bad qualities and the kids may have an issues with their parents. Yep, my parents, especially my mom, only ever say you're just like your other parent when it's something negative. Led to some serious self-esteem issues that I am still trying to work through into adulthood. No telling tales or snitching, like how many kids are abused or bullied and won't come forward because of this. Political views, at ages that children are really too young to understand them. They just spout off their parents' thoughts. The worst part is they repeat them and hear the same political views so much that they internalize it when they are older enough to question it. They then have an identity crisis because the things their parents said don't make sense when examined a little further. So like anyone else, when your views come under scrutiny, you dig a deeper trench, and pretty much develop an unspoken pledge of loyalty to your political party. Edit. Obviously this doesn't happen to everyone, and many people grow by questioning the worldviews they were taught as kids and come out with a more well-rounded opinion on different issues. The original post was asking about negative things being taught, and so I was in a pessimistic mindset when writing this. The lie that life is fair and things happen for benevolent, valid reasons. Then we let them get burned and figure it out themselves. And on the other hand, when something shitty happens, instructing kids not to do anything to change or better it because life isn't fair. It sure isn't fair, but that doesn't mean people shouldn't try to make it better. If you have a different opinion than someone, you hate them and that's wrong. Also, people seem to be taught this incorrect notion that every disagreement has to be an argument, so backing down, admitting that you were wrong, or changing your mind are considered losing. It's totally fine to change how you feel about an issue when presented with new information. It doesn't make you weak. Doing the right thing will sometimes make others hate you. Be prepared for that. That sounds like decent advice. How is it a harmful thing that's being taught to kids? That everybody is a winner. No. Losing and disappointments are part of life and they are integral to your growth both emotionally and socially. We have a lot of people who enter the real world who have been told they are deserving of things just because and cannot take rejections and losses in their personal and professional lives with any grace whatsoever. This is also resulting in mediocrity being accepted as a norm cause nobody wants to call out ineptitude. While the hard work and dedication being put in by people who do end up in good positions are being played down. It's a little harsh but it's true. Kids gotta learn how to lose before they can truly start to win. That's the only way being gracious in victory will ever come about. This is why Pokemon is such a good cartoon for kids. For years Ash has done everything right with training and caring and he's lost the championship. I hated the cartoon until I saw that it helps foster a healthy relationship with losing. Losing with grace and finding the value in it is one of the most important skills. No tolerance policy and fighting back if you are getting beat up isn't right, also no hitting girls back. My friend and I wanted out of school so we had a fight and got suspended. Kids today are more aware of consequence and their digital footprint than any generation before. Speaking strictly of middle and high school aged kids, they are extremely well aware of how something can come back to bite them later in life. Some might think this is good and a step towards a more mindful generation, but I disagree. They've just gotten better at hiding it. For the sake of maintaining a happy face and limiting their digital footprint, kids today repress anything that might be perceived as off track. My kid is going to be born soon and I'm really terrified of how to take a kid born in 2020 and navigate the digital future. You shouldn't have to be worried about posting cringe or whatever when you are 8. I personally hate when I hear parents telling their kids white lies to stop them from doing something. Or white lies to shield their kids from anything bad that happens, like a pet dying. Then they grow up not knowing how to deal with a lot of situations. I would say what's harmful is what's not being taught. Critical thinking skills. This is more at a high school level. But that trade schools or learning a trade is a lesser option compared to a standard college degree. Trade schools and learning a skill trade need just as much emphasis as a college degree. Along those same lines, college or trade school should be treated as a busy investment. Time should be taken for teens to examine how long it will take to repay their schooling and if that degree is worth the money. Especially now with previous generation living longer and staying in the job market longer. Combined with more and more people graduating with degrees, there is more supply and the demand is not growing evenly in all areas of expertise. Edit. Woot. My first ever metal. Lack of electronics, then given an overdose of electronics. Things happen to me and now I can't stop playing games. Also, I'm restricting myself now. I'm confused by this somehow. Like I understand what you mean but I can't visualize it. Do you mean like no electronics whatsoever until a certain point then access to all of it? Bad ideas about sex from porn. My porn watching as a teenager was detrimental to my understanding of women. It's going to make me cringe like crazy, and will be immeasurably uncomfortable, but I plan to talk with my 3 boys not only about sex, but how you should behave leading up to sex. The thought of this makes me want to vomit. They're in elementary school now, but that conversation is coming. Good will win, evil will be punished. There is no karma. Some people will do all sorts of shitty stuff and be successful and happy. Other people will do good and will end up with cancer. Good will win, evil will be punished. In psychology this is referred to as the just world fallacy. It's a cognitive distortion that leads to victim blaming. Bad things only happen to bad people and sets people up for depression. It's extremely harmful. That you need to go to college instead of saying college is an option. When people said don't fight back to me, I always ignored them. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. We always had to stand up for yourself. One day when I came home with a bloody nose and black eye, my parents asked me what happened. I told them I got the shit beat out of me. My parents said if the little shit that beat me up came up to me again, that I had permission from them to beat the fuck out of him. Next day he came up to me and wanted to fight. I beat the ever-loving crap out of him and was suspended for a week. The teachers knew he was bullying me too and did nothing because it was the principal's kid. Moral of the story is if someone is bullying you, bully them back. Little girls get told all the time that boys are bullying them because they like them. I got told that all the time. I knew it was bullshit, though. I was an overweight kid. I had glasses. I had acne later on. I knew the boys were picking on me because that's what kids do when they don't like you. Besides, the girls were doing the same thing. When I finally had someone like me, in college, really, he never picked on or bullied me. That's the way it should be. That you shouldn't hit a woman. Don't hit anyone, unless it's self-defense. If my child is being hit by a woman, and bullied, equal rights, equal fights. Batman said it first, the hammer of justice is unisex. Finishing your plate, you should eat till you're full, not until there is no more food on your plate. I think this is often misinterpreted. While we don't want to encourage overeating, the message should be, don't waste food. You should only take what you can eat. If you aren't sure, only take a small portion. Don't pile food on the plate and then throw half of it away. That it's okay to take your anger out on other people. And that everyone should have social media and compare themselves to those who look better. This. Just a few days ago, my 17-year-old was having a rough day. The typical, didn't sleep well, feeling down, just wanted to be left alone kind of mood. Well, his little brother, 11, wanted to show him the new games he got on the Switch. 17-yo kind lashed out verbally and upset the 11-yo. I jumped in right there and told him, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to feel like shit. It's not okay to take that out on anyone. I told him to go chill out and take a nap. A couple hours later he came back and apologized to his brother and played on the Switch with him for a while. History from a single perspective. I am a history teacher and I firmly believe one of the most damaging things schools do is teach history from a single perspective, especially a Eurocentric one. It just isn't how history works and causes lots of issues for any person group who doesn't share that single perspective. P.S. Teaching what I call great man history is almost as bad. History was made by more than presidents, inventors, and celebrities. Teaching only about significant figure after significant figure minimizes the impact of the 99.9999999% of the population that isn't super famous. Honestly, the history education I received in public school failed even to get the one perspective across. Little hope for another. Bullies are only bullies because they feel insecure about themselves and you should sympathize with them. Fuck that. If someone is being shitty to you, then they don't deserve your sympathy. If you don't fight back, they'll get bored and go away. Problem: no, they don't. If you fight back, they'll respect you and leave you alone. Problem: no, they don't. If you come talk to me, I'll get it sorted out. Problem: no, you won't. School grades determine worth. This is something a ton of parents need to be taught. That you can be anything you want in life. Sorry, but this just isn't correct. Poor Eddie, who can't grasp basic division, isn't going to be an astronaut. Unless he becomes TikTok billionaire. Edit, spelling. Yes, in that sentence. It seems like forcing kids to eat everything off their plate is pretty harmful. It doesn't matter if they're full, they have to clean off their plate and they can't leave the table until they do.